In a previous example, we saw how to set up a basic approval flow configured with a request title, request description, details, summary, attached documents, as well as the approval chain, which we defined as a three-level chain, including escalation and some other configuration options. Right now, we'll take a look at how to persist the events of this approval into a process folder. The first step we want to begin with is making sure that we have our flow constructed as we need it. At the end of this process, it's going to send a quick notification if the final request was rejected. Otherwise, just continue to the end. And to persist the data about our process, including comments, we will go to the Flow Management Data section and grab the Setup Process Folder component. We can set this anywhere just so long as we set it someplace in front of the main approval flow, because the main approval flow will detect whether or not we have a process folder set up, and then if it is set up, add comments to it. So to set up our process folder, we'll just fill in some temporary values. For this example, we know that our designer entities are all going to be loaded under my approval example entity, so we'll statically define the parent folder of the new process folders. We may want to specify this dynamically, in which case we would change this to flow input, and that would provide us with another input down here called parent folder ID, which we would map as the folder ID of whichever folder was performing this action, this approval action. We'll fill in a real basic folder description. Typically, we'd want to put more robust details in here, including the details of the request, etc. But for this example, we'll just go ahead and leave that simply as that, and we'll call this my process folder. Now, we will leave folder type name to a state of ignore. That's just going to be standard practice. And to make it unique, we will change the value to number under make unique. We will select save flow data, and we'll leave our flow prefix as WF. Also, for the sake of our example, we'll go ahead and include the flow run ID in the name just so that we can see what that looks like. This completes our process, so we will save it and now run our approval flow. Now, the first person in our chain of approval is the current user, admin, so we will go ahead and just see how this process folder is set up. Close this. This assignment will persist for at least a few more seconds while we take a look at the process folder that was created. This is going to be WF00001, my process folder, and if we click inside it, we'll see the description as well as comments saying that the process was assigned to admin. The percent complete was changed to 100%, and the flow state was changed to completed. Because of how we set up our approval chain, there is no set due date. It was 30 seconds after we submitted it, but we can also note how the flow state was changed and who approved it when, as well as the final disposition of it. And this completes our examination of how to create an approval flow that creates comments to show how the process went.